great warrior and friend. Goodbye, Air.
There's a hotbed of activity up north.
They will carry me all the way to the throne of Kryta.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 50 of the GuildMag podcast. We are finally back and joining me once again is Aaron. Say hey Aaron.
What's up guys? Back, finally. At long last.
Indeed, it's been a while. How have you been?
I've been, I've been waiting for the podcast to come back. No, actually, it was partially gone because I had no time, so now that I have time again, I'm happy it's back.
As am I. So before we get going, this is the last time we'll be doing the podcast live on a Sunday. From episode 51 onwards, we will be moving to Thursdays at the same time. So that is 8 p.m. GMT, 9 p.m. if you're in the UK, 1 p.m. Pacific time. So that's on twitch.tv/GuildMag. We thought it'd be nice to do it a bit earlier in the week.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully next week,
a good day.
Yeah, hopefully next week Sandra will be back as well. She dashed off today without telling us anything. She's like, I've got to go.
She's not going to be on our first Thursday episode.
She's not. She's... Yeah. Oh, damn.
We're going to have to try and wrangle someone.
Indeed. But she'll be back on episode 52 then.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you guys just saw the trailer for Out of the Shadows, which is coming this Tuesday. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. A whole load of Season 3 speculation.
So excited.
Yeah, it should be a good show. But before we do all that, as always on the podcast, we're going to kick off with the Gem Store news. And so this week, it's been Techno Week at the Black Lion Trading Company. So you can get, and I think this is really cool, the Glidertron glider for 800 gems. Have you seen it in game?
Yeah, you like it?
Like the skin is okay, but the cool thing for me is just like the dyeable like exhaust trail. Like I was just like, oh my god, that's so cool.
All right, I won't be as hard on it then as I was.
Go on
that.
What's
great yesterday?
What were you gonna say?
I don't like it. We'll just leave it there.
Really?
I don't like the Glidertron, but that's okay.
I think I like it more for the dyeable trail
dyeable
rather than its actual like aesthetic.
I just don't like it. I think it looks goofy, is the way I would put it. It's very goofy. And I don't build goofy characters. So.
Yeah. That's fair enough. So as well, we have, for 20% off, we have various other techno robot stuff on sale. We have the Jobbertron backpack. We have Mini Scruffy, things like Golem Banker, the Minotron, Logotron. There's a couple more that I can't really remember. But now's your chance.
Like Gathering Tools Week.
Yeah, basically. Now's your chance to get a load of Azure and Gathering Tools, if that's your thing. And that's it for the Gemstore news. So we're just going to jump straight into our discussion for this week, with breaking down that trailer first of all that we just showed.
Yeah.
So let's just jump straight in. Initial thoughts. What stands out to you, good sir?
Actually, what stood out to me, even though people were kind of expecting it with the whole direction the raids were going in, I was surprised at how pivotal a role the White Mantle seemed to be taking in Season 3. Because Seasons 1 and 2, like, Season 1 didn't seem like it was focused on the dragons, but since Scarlet was bringing about Morgemoth, it very much was. And then Season 2 was really ramping up our fight against the dragon, and the whole point of Season 2 was the races coming together against Morgemoth as an imminent threat. And then Heart of Thorns was continuing our struggle against the dragons with the defeat of Mordramoth. And now we're kind of branching away from that, and I'm just kind of wondering how central the White Mantle are going to be. If it's going to be a tandem main plot with the dragon fight, if they're going to put the dragon fight to the side and bring the White Mantle to the forefront, or if we're maybe not going to see as much of the White Mantle as we think we are by the trailer. I just thought that was really interesting, just how much they're bringing the White Mantle into the limelight.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think when Raids first came out, anyone kind of expected it to be anything other than a sort of self-contained story. And I think even ArenaNet were kind of just saying it won't really affect that much, you know, going into season 3. And now it's just like, oh, it's going to be like one of the major plot lines potentially.
On that subject, I don't think it's going to be anything to worry about for people who don't raid, because I firmly believe that they're going to recap that in some capacity for players. I don't think they're going to like put in a cutscene and be like, yo dog, this is what happened in the raid. But I think they might have like some NPCs you can talk to and ask questions about the situation with the White Mantle. And so for those people that want to be filled in on that information, I think they'll probably be able to be. So I don't think there'll be any problems for people like me who don't raid. I mean, I watch like all the lore videos on the raids too, though, right? So I know all this stuff already, but a lot of people don't. So I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I completely agree. And even if it's not, there is the kind of crappy fallback, but still a fallback of you can go into a cleared instance and still experience it for yourself. Anyway, I still, we always come back to it, I still think there should have been a story mode, but you know, it is what it is. But I think I'm really excited to see where it's going to go. I think they've definitely left a lot of room for different directions, because as we've got in these notes, there seems to be many different kind of story threads all going on at once.
Right now in Guild Wars 2, there's more open story threads than there's ever been before in the whole game. Like, when you count up the amount of open story threads, it's crazy. Like, we've got Glint's Egg is probably the biggest one, which we didn't see anything of by the trailer, by the way. That was pretty crazy, which I think means it's going to be a big part of the thing, because they're holding it back so much. And then we've got the White Mantle coming up. We've got Ritlock, what happened with him. You know, we've got all these main open story threads, and they can go so many different directions in the story. You know, we've got 4 Elder Dragons left. What are we going to do about them? We don't even know about one of them. You know, it's insane. It's insanity. So I'm excited to see how much they can cram into Season 3.
And when you add on top of this the fact that we're getting new Fractal as well, with its own storyline that's running sort of in parallel to Season 3, there's going to be so much to do. Like, just we're going to go from this like drought of no story content after Heart of Thorns to suddenly like, whoa, here's all this stuff to do.
Yeah, I'm like, a lot of people think the Fractal is going to be what we see in the trailer with the floating islands and the expanding blue explosion and the airship flying into it. A lot of people are thinking that's going to be the Fractal. We don't know that, obviously, but it's a good theory, because we have a lot of floaty islandy things in the Fractal. That could also be somewhere on the Tarnished Coast. You know, that could be Radisum or something like that. So it's either of those are possible. I'm also kind of leaning towards the Fractal route, because I just think that setting would make a good Fractal. I like blue explodey things. One of my theories on I think this is kind of the common consensus theory actually on that that explosion you see in that shot, is that that's some sort of ley line rupture, because the blue hue of the energy there matches ley line energy very closely.
Yeah, that is true. We haven't really seen much of that colour elsewhere to do like the White Mantle or anything like that. So bringing it back to kind of the White Mantle, one thing I just want to discuss is it seems to be sort of a very human-centric story in regards to that thread. And I wonder sort of how much prominence it's going to play in the overall Season 3 arc, and what's going to make other races care about the White Mantle. Because, you know, even in Guild Wars 1, it's a very human thing. And it seems like a very human threat to, like, Trinity's Reach.
Yeah, I think the biggest deal is that the humans are currently allied with the other races in unity against the dragons. So even though the White Mantle aren't the dragons, it's a situation of the enemy of my friend is my enemy, rather. Sort of a spin on that, saying, you know, that's what allies do. They help each other even when maybe, you know, they aren't required to by danger. But
Yeah.
that's what I think. That's what I think it's going to be. I think the Pact might be able to get enlisted against the White Mantle because Kryta is allied with the Char and the Asura and the Sylvari and the Norn.
That is very true, actually. So, especially the alliance with the Char, between humans and Char, is kind of, I guess, pivotal with Queen Jenna. And so if there's a threat to her, and God forbid she gets killed, then...
Which is a huge, like, I got all sorts of things to say about Queen Jenna.
Yeah, I think we're going to get onto her a little bit later on. And so a lot of people with Season 3, and even kind of way before this, have been saying, are we being pushed towards, Crystal Desert, Kralkatorrik, and is that going to be the next Elder Dragon? And I think most of the consensus is it is going to be now, because we've got things like Glint's Egg, and there's theories floating around about with Lazarus and the Masot being able to actually deal with them. You have to traditionally have been ascended, which either takes place in Cantha, which is not going to happen, let's be honest, or in the Crystal Desert. So it seems like there's going to be a lot of these plot threads kind of converging on Crystal Desert, on Kralkatorrik.
One thing a lot of people aren't taking into consideration is the Durman Priory and the sheer amount of artifacts that they have there that they're able to engineer things with that otherwise wouldn't be possible in that location. Like the mock ascension we did in Season 2 is a good example of something that we should have had to go to the Crystal Desert for, and we totally didn't, because they were like, yo dog, we got this sick basement with literally everything you need. So you never know what the Priory is kind of it's a plot device for that, like, oh, don't worry, the Priory's got it, like that's kind of what the Priory is in the game for, is to be that plot device. So that could be their way to circumnavigate having to go to the desert to get ascended to fight the Mursat, because what also happened in the Battle for Lion's Arch in Guild Wars 1 was an Asura named Blim actually reverse engineered the body of a seer to be able to give people essentially a mass infusion against the Mursat. So that they put that part of the story in the game so that players who weren't ascended could do that quest. But now that's in lore that the Asura essentially know how to do that. It would require finding a seer to do, but it's definitely a way to, again, get around having to go to the desert and get ascended. So that's also a possibility where the Mursat are concerned. We also don't know how many Mursat there are going to be. Right now, likely, the only one we know is likely alive is one.
I think it's probably going to end up as Lazarus being like this, like how Scarlet was protagonist of Season 1. I feel like it's probably going to be that similar sort of thing for Season 2. I think it's worth interesting with the thing about Ascension is it's, again, a very human-centric thing. It's essentially about communing with
human gods.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what's going to happen to, say we have to ascend, what would happen to like non-human player characters? Do they go through the same ritual? Are we going to, because of that, would we see maybe NPCs ascend instead of us as player characters to kind of...
And that's where I think some sort of workaround is going to come in, because obviously the magic centered around the human gods that involves Ascension might not apply to non-humans. At the same time, it was magic that was conceived by the Forgotten, which aren't human themselves, so it could also apply to non-humans. I know that the humans are the only ones that worshipped the beings that were the gods as gods, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the gods themselves were only loyal to human beings as far as blessings they could bestow. So that's a wild card, but I really think what we're going to see as far as being able to see the Mursat and things like that are technology workarounds, basically. Asuran workarounds, things like that. Durman Priory artifacts. I think because they pull that crap a lot, and I think they're going to pull it again because it's an easy workaround for that plot device.
That is very true. So pushing past, I guess, the White Mantle then. What are we kind of looking forward to most as a whole, first of all, I guess?
For me, it's got to be what comes out of that egg. That's just, I'm so curious as to what that dragon is going to do, how it's going to affect the world. I will go out on a limb and say it's not going to be evil. even though it was imbued with the Elder Dragon, with the Fallout magic of an Elder Dragon, which is inherently let's call it chaotic neutral. I don't think the dragon is going to turn out like an Elder Dragon. I think it will probably turn into one because of the magic that it was imbued with upon the death of Mordramoth, but I don't think it's going to be a bad guy. I don't know that it will necessarily be a benevolent entity, but I think it's going to do more good than harm at the end of the day.
Yeah, I completely forgot what I was going to say then.
Ooh.
It's gone right over my head. It was something to do with Elder Dragon's England. It'll come back to me. I think I'm just looking forward to getting more stories to play. I don't care what the story is at this point. I'm just really looking forward to something to play, and hopefully it'll be quite a big chunk, because obviously these releases are going to be coming sort of 2 or 3 months apart.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get a fairly decent.
Is that the time window they've said? 2 or 3 months apart?
Something like that. Yeah.
It's crazy. Are the episodes going to be bigger?
Oh, I'm assuming so.
They better be.
Yeah.
2 or 3 months? Jesus.
Yeah, the idea.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So we're going to have Living World like up through 2018. It's insanity, but I knew it wouldn't be 2 weeks, like, because 2 weeks is crazy,
no.
right?
But
I was thinking they'd be like a month apart.
No, it's going to be about 2 to 3 months apart each episode,
I mean,
but hopefully
at least that means we'll probably get some serious content each.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm really hoping.
Which honestly, I think I'd be happier with that system than every 2 weeks we get a tiny little thing.
Yeah, I agree as well, and I think even if it's like every 2 or 3 months regularly, it's better than what we've had previously, like every 2 weeks very irregularly, or every what was season 2? Season 2 every month.
Season 2 was still every 2 weeks.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It was the last thing they did on the 2 week release schedule.
Well, there you go then. It felt like every month. But yeah, so, because I mean, everyone's kind of assuming that this is the season that's going to lead us into the next expansion. Like Colin was saying before Heart of Thorns was released, he was like, the plan is expansion, Living World season, expansion, Living World season.
Well, especially if what you're saying about if they do the 2 to 3 month per episode release cycle, it'll definitely lead us into an expansion, because that will give them ample amount of time to work on that game. They've already been working on the expansion all of 2016. All of 2016 work has been getting put into this expansion. And so yeah, I definitely think that's what would be coming after the Living World season. I think their order of events with those is going to be Living World, expansion, raid, repeat, and that's how they're kind of gonna release stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally love to see like another raid before the expansion comes out. I don't know how likely that is to ever happen, because 6 months from now, completing all those 3 wings is just going to be like
or they
like
could
raids
have
always
raids,
get.
they could have raids bracketing each item, because the raid team's obviously going to be working the whole time Living World's coming out. They could release raids in tandem with Living World too. I don't think they're going to do that, but
I mean, I suppose it depends whatever the new raid storyline would be, because this one we now understand why this entire raid had to be released before season 3 started, because the story ties in to season 3, essentially kicks off the season 3 story. But if future raids don't do that, there's no reason they can't be slotted in alongside Living World stuff.
I actually think now that they've got such a long-term development cycle on release schedule rather on Living World, I really think that we could see another raid wing after Living World before the X-Pack, because that raid team's going to be working most of that time. They might pull them like here and there to help with other things, but they're the raid team. They're probably going to be making raids.
Yeah, so. I'd love to see them pulled into like Living World teams that are dealing with maybe like mini boss fights or something. So we had a couple of them in season 2, and I'd love to see.
They do well-designed fights.
Yeah.
And like dungeon-esque type quests in Living World.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we'll just see what comes of that. So as in addition to the trailer, we have been getting Timey's journal notes from Ratanovus. So we're going to kind of take a gander through them, I guess. So as it's coming back to, she mentioned Kralkatorrik again. She obviously mentions in her notes Azuran research, mostly on Primordus, but also on Kralkatorrik. Is this, I guess, just more hints about Kralkatorrik and Crystal Desert?
Well, here's the thing. I'm wondering if it's hinting at the next 2 dragons to come, because she says they've got a lot of stuff on Primordus, which means it might be a good time to fight Primordus if we have all this, if we have all the sick deets on him. So Primordus could be coming. He's the closest proximity with our establishment in the Maguma jungle and stuff. But I do think they're hinting at Kralkatorrik coming soon, if anything. Because she does mention him. We've just met up with the Exalted, whom she mentions is why the Radanovans were doing so much Kralkatorrik research, because the Exalted communicated with the Radanovans, and they communicated to them how pressing of a concern Kralkatorrik was. So with the Exalted on our side now, as part of the story, with Glint's Egg coming into being, with actually Ebonhawk being the proximity it is to the Crystal Desert, and the human nation coming under assault by the White Mantle now, everything's kind of leaning towards the Crystal Desert. It's no longer a stretch to think, hey, maybe that's where we're headed. That's the #1 area I've always wanted to go ever since the game launched, is the Crystal Desert. It was one of my favorite areas in Guild Wars 1, if not my favorite area. So I'm kind of excited about it.
No, I am as well. Like, it would be great. Like, I'm sick of seeing plants and vines and jungle. Let's go completely opposite, somewhere there's none of that.
It's such a different animal than the rest of Tyria was, and at least it was in Guild Wars 1. Like, it was such a unique feeling. It was so expansive and open, but yet not boring. Like, I don't know how they made this huge, just duny desert not boring, but it was one of the most exciting areas for me to explore in Guild Wars 1. It's one of the most mysterious areas, which is, I think, why I like it so much.
I agree. I think what would be interesting is how, if we went there, how they deal with gliding and like the verticality, because until now they've been really it's been something they've really been pushing. Is that going to continue?
They would probably add a lot of like mesas and rock formations and stuff like that, because we did see those in the Crystal Desert and Guild Wars 1 in some of the zones. The salt flats have to be the salt flats because that's what they are. Okay, don't try to insert verticality in the salt flats. They're the salt flats. Calm down. But there's also a lot of ancient human wreckage around the Crystal Desert. There's a few statues that are super tall. Like, there's that one with that notorious quest that was never finished in the Crystal Desert, where you had to topple the statue over to make a bridge. And then there's also all sorts of wooden ships that are strewn about, because the Crystal Desert used to be the Crystal Sea before it was dried up by Abaddon, I want to say. I think it was Abaddon.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, because the Marganites sailed it, and then Abaddon. I don't know. I don't remember how it got dried up. It had to do with Abaddon. But so yeah, and so we could see wooden, similar to how ships are strewn about in ore. You could see the same deal in the Crystal Desert, and that could give it a hint of verticality. But I think rock formations and mesas, for the most part, is how they're going to make gliding accessible. It's going to look probably similar to Dry Top, just with a different color palette, more lighter, less orange and more beige color palette, like Crystal Desert.
Would be. I think we were joking about on the stream we did. Was it yesterday or Tuesday? One of the streams that I was doing about the next evolution of gliding being just straight up flying. Mounts confirmed, all that. I think that'd be cool, but I doubt it's ever going to happen. Honestly,
I'm not anti-mount in Guild Wars 2. I just can't really think of too many creatures that would work as mounts. A lot of them just look silly, like a Norn riding a Moa. Come on. Let's get real. But you could, Drakes would work well as mounts, I guess. Drakes would work really well. And some of the dinosaurs from Maguma and stuff like that. Because it's a fun mechanic if they ever want to put it in. There's really nothing to complain about with them. They seem really, they don't want to do it. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I guess we'll wait and see on that one.
I think they feel like it distinguishes their game to not have them.
I guess. The waypoint system is... it suffices for most people, I think.
In Core Tyria, it's robust, but earlier today, a little anecdote here, I was going around Maguma trying to get the last of those mastery insights you can find, where it's like a skill point, but it's a mastery point. and I was getting so frustrated at how the waypoints in Tangled Depths are spread out. They're just so not useful in any capacity. And so, and they said that was one of the things they said they were going to do coming up on Heart of Thorns. They were like, yeah, we're going to spread out the waypoints more. There's going to be less of them. You're going to have to run around, and it's getting a little annoying, you know.
I agree with that completely. Tangled Depths, I've still not got my head around completely.
I actually managed to complete it a few months ago. It was a day of banging my head against the wall.
I could not do that. Absolutely not.
It was rough.
Indeed. So coming back to Timey's notes then, it seems the Azura have invaded, and she's been... What's the word I'm looking for? I can't think.
She's been very disturbed.
Indeed, she's been flunted.
Yeah. But she has managed to seal off the Dragon Research Lab, so that's still her private... only she knows about that still, essentially.
Indeed. So does this mean we're going to see Ratanovus populated, like, in-game, essentially in the open world?
I don't think it's going to be populated in the open world, but I think we're going to travel to it in an instance quest like we have in Living World, and we're going to see all the Ratasum Asura, doing all their research all over it. There's going to be plenty of great dialogue. It's going to be a fun scene.
Yeah, I think that's how we're going to begin. I think episode 1 we'll get like a mail from Timey. She's like, oh my god, come and look at this, and then off we go.
It's not going to be populated open world though, just because it's part of the meta. There's events done through there, so it won't be populated open world. Like, what you got to remember, what everyone always has to remember about the open world is it's pretty much frozen in time. You just kind of got to take it, whatever NPC you talk to, whatever time period they're in, that's what that area is going to be. And I know they add new events sometimes that have to do with current events, but those events are kind of in their own little time sphere. So it's definitely, if there's already something going on in an area that's really significant to the map, they're probably not going to alter it too much.
And speaking of that, actually, so one thing I wanted to bring up is with these kind of Living World releases being every couple of months apart, we're kind of falling behind real what's I'm trying to say, so in-game time compared to like real world time, if that makes sense. Like the year in-game will not change, kind of matches when our year changes in real life, but I'm feeling like Living World Season 3 with being spread across so many months with each release, surely like the time period in game isn't going to be like months apart.
No.
So we're going to fall behind essentially.
Unless it specifically states in one of the quests, like 3 years later or whatever bullcrap like that, it's going to be taking place within a consecutive time window.
So one thing that Sandra was going to talk about, but she's not here, so we'll do it for her, is with all these various sort of plot points, plot threads coming together, how is there essentially like screen time going to be distributed? Because we've got things like with the egg, with Timey, and White Mantle.
That's the biggest thing I'm wondering, and I rambled about this on my weekly stream a few days ago. I'm just like, are they going to focus this narrative on one thing? Like, are they going to pull us away from the dragons and focus us on the White Mantle, and have that just be season 3, and then maybe connect it back to the dragon fight at the end, and then we'll have to wait for the X-Pac to get back to the dragons? Or are they going to go with White Mantle like for a while, and we'll just like we get the White Mantle Living World season and it ramps up to a Mersad expansion or something like that, and maybe they're just putting the whole dragon thing on hold like they tend to do quite a bit? Because this is why I hate the dragons as an antagonist, because literally the only reason they haven't obliterated us is because they're lazy. And that's their plot reason for being able to put the dragon fight on hold is, they're fine, they're not going to come get us. So that's kind of annoying. I want them to keep the dragon fight going because I want it to have a sense of urgency. I want it to have the sense of urgency that it had in Heart of Thorns. So I'd like them to be operating. What I think they're going to do is, I think the Kryta White Mantle thing is probably going to take point for the Living World season, but I think we're going to have dragon things going on in the background. Maybe Krakator's minions are going to start getting uppity, things like that. So I think we're going to have our dragon section with Glint's egg and with Timey in her lab, and then we're going to be also focusing on White Mantle in Kryta Divinity's Reach.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think
I just don't know what the split's going to be.
no, I feel like we'll probably see episodes dedicated like a majority to one thing or one or two things at a time, and then we kind of swap into something else in the next episode, and then go on like that.
Yeah, if I'm going to be honest, I see it starting with, because it's going to basically pick up where Heart of Thorns left off. So we're probably going to start with Timey in her lab, Morning Air, that sort of stuff. I don't think the White Mantle stuff is going to ramp up till later in the season, episode 5-ish. I think that's when that's going to happen, because they're going to need to build that up with dialogue and background and things like that. And then,
I mean, I was going to say, like, the actual title is Out of the Shadows.
That's true.
Which, it implies White Mantle.
There could be a giant Crichton revolution, like episode 1.
DR's destroyed, Queen Jenna's dead.
That could be episode 1, like it really could. I'm wondering, because... Actually, no, we'll save that for when we discuss Jenna's thing. But I do have, like I said, I have things to say about my speculations for Jenna. But yeah, with Timey's notes, the main thing I'm wondering with Timey's notes and how they're going to spread out the story is Kralkatorrik or Primordius going to take point? Because, like I said, everything's pointing towards the Crystal Desert, but also Primordius is right there, And she's like, hey, we've got a bunch of information on him. Yeah. So maybe they'll shove Primordius in, like, really quick before Kralkatorrik, but I think they're also saving Primordius for, like, the last one, because he was the first one to rise. So, I don't know what's going on there.
It could just be, like... I mean, they know... Surely, like when ArenaNet put this sort of stuff in, they know that people are immediately going to pick up on it and be like, okay, Kralkatorrik, it could just be a complete red herring, and the reality is, like, GuildMag or Bubbles or something, Like...
Yeah.
It could be, because it does seem a bit like there's so much pointing towards it that it would be kind of, I don't want to say like anticlimactic for it to actually be where we're going, but like just like, yeah. So I guess we'll wait and see on that one. So, speaking of Queen Jenna, should we let you have your way with her?
Well, the main thing that didn't come out right. So that was all you.
I'll take that one back.
The main thing I'm curious about with Queen Jenna is, like you said, like she's gonna be a target, essentially. She's gonna be the public enemy #1 for the White Mantle, and they're going to try and take her out. Now, what we've established with the White Mantle is that they're not only in the jungle. They have a lot of sleeper agents woven throughout human society. People are going to come out and be like out of the shadows. You know what you said?
Yeah.
They're gonna come out and be like, "Yo, dog, I was White Mantle all along," and that's probably going to go all the way up into the Shining Blade. There are probably Shining Blade sleeper agents that are going to come out and be a serious threat to Crichton national security. Now, this interview that they put up on the Guild Wars 2 website with Queen Jenna, first of all, I was ticked off that they didn't name who was interviewing her. I was like, what publication is this for? Korean hair, like, what's up? But this interview, she's giving out a very high sense of security. She's pretty confident in this interview, and I think this interview aims to do two things. I think it aims to highlight that Tyrian politicians act very similarly to real world politicians, and I think it's also pointing out that the Crichtons feel more secure than they are, because he asked her to explain her plan for national security, and she basically says, oh, we've got plans to get everybody into the city and they'll be safe. What her plan isn't accounting for is that the city might not be a safe place, and that's exactly what's going to happen, because the White Mantle are embedded throughout society. So when that happens, Divinity's Reach is likely going to turn into a type of war zone, essentially. And I'm really excited to see, like, obviously there's probably going to be an attempt on the Queen's life. I'm excited to see how far up the chain the White Mantle goes in the Crichton government. Obviously, Logan is probably going to get dragged into it, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say Logan might die, defending Jenna from an attempt on her life. I'm actually really excited about that. I want to see Logan die, but I want to see it happen. I want him to go out like a total badass.
I wouldn't be surprised, because so in that in the interview, they ask, has she been to see Logan? She's like, no, I've been too busy. I don't believe that for like a second, that she hasn't been to see him at all. I think Logan, like, being so close to death at Mordramoth's hand, she'll have been like, oh no, Logan, and she'll have been like,
for each other.
Yeah, so I think they're gonna build up this Jenna Logan relationship, and then right at the end, just take him away.
Here's the deal. I don't know if they're really in love or not. Kent was telling me yesterday that devs have confirmed that they are really in love. I don't know, but I find it that it would be a more interesting story if Logan was in love with Jenna, but it was totally one-sided, and Jenna was totally using him as just like a thrall, basically. And it would be really cool if she had him enchanted or something like that. That's what I'd like to see. But at the same time, I think you're along the right lines. I think they're going to build that relationship, and then I think he's going to die, because I feel like that decision we made, Zoja or Logan, in the story that we actually streamed yesterday, nothing really panned out from that, and I don't know if they're ever going to make anything pan out from that, but I think them having one of those two characters die is kind of going to be their way of being like, hey guys, we tried. So, I don't know, but if Logan dies, I want there to be like an inordinate amount of White Mantle pressing in, and he's just like, go, and I'll defend, and then like he goes full Terminator status on like 90 White Mantle guys, and then finally dies. That's what I want to see. I want to see like a 3-minute cutscene of Logan just going ham before he bites it. That's what I want to happen.
Well, I guess the thing is, like, we've got so many like supposed heroes now, like with Destiny's Edge and Destiny's Edge 2.0 or whatever they're going to be called. It's like, let's cull some of these heroes, get rid of them. Apart from Ritlock, we've got to keep him.
Guild Wars, I don't think they're going to kill Ritlock. Ritlock is like he's like the come from behind mascot for the series. He really is. He's a bit of a mascot for Guild Wars 2. I don't think they're going to take him out. But I agree with you. We're oversaturated as far as main characters go in the Guild Wars story. So I don't know how many they're going to take out in season 3, but at least someone is going to get taken out in season 3. So I'm excited to see who it is, but my money is on Logan.
We'll wait and see. I mean, people so far both seasons, like I don't want to say key characters, but certain characters have popped their clogs along the way.
And the only reason Marjorie didn't was because it got leaked.
Really?
At the end of season 1, the only reason that Marjorie didn't die is because the ending got leaked early, and so they wanted to flip the script on the people that read the leaks.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Marjorie's death was data mined before the final episode of season 1 rolled out.
Well then.
Yeah, hardcore. I think Jenna's sense of security is just going to get blown out of the water when the White Mantle reveal themselves within the city.
I completely agree.
I think that was the point of that interview, was to create ominous tension.
Yeah, I mean, she even says, like, she ends when she's asked about security about, but these are only preparations for, like, dragon attacks or she says like, natural disasters or something. Yeah.
She's like, because she says earlier in the interview, the White Mantle are just, a ragtag group of nobodies out in the jungle. And we know that they actually have a giant frickin' city out in the middle of the jungle that nobody in DR knows about. So, I mean, that's crazy. So, obviously, I'm also thinking that this interview chronologically comes before the raid, because because we find Seraph in the raid. There's got to be people reporting back to her.
I mean,
so I think the interview is staged before the raid.
One thing I would love to see is like special interaction with characters that have completed the raid or gone in there. Like when you're talking about White Mantle or anything to do with this, it'd be awesome to like, I've got first-hand experience. Just some little dialogue.
On that note, something I really want to see that's not a huge deal, but it's a nice little treat for people that notice, is if they take in whatever instance it is that DR goes all to crap, right? And the White Mantles start unveiling themselves. I want to see like NPCs that are in the city, in the open world, like turn into White Mantle. Like maybe that dude over there that sells frickin' rainbow cake, and he's like, yo, I got this a White Mantle the whole time. And you're like, no, not rainbow cake, guy.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Or the people from the circus. That would be amazing.
Indeed. So anything else to say about Jenna? I feel like, oh no, I did have something. So since these things have been released, like on the website, these, you know, Tammy's notes, Jenna's interview and things, back in previous Living World seasons, we were saying how it would have been better if these were kind of incorporated more actually in game, and it seems like that's maybe not happening yet. I mean,
I don't know that these are like the Timey journals could have definitely been in game.
Yeah.
I think the interview with
the
Jenna
interview,
was
yeah,
best put on the site.
definitely not. But I mean, things like Tammy's notes are like perfect to have in game. I feel like.
Yeah, Tammy's notes are great for in-game. I'm not sure why they didn't, because people, you know, whenever they do patches, even if they're like little tiny things like that, people still love it. So I'm not sure why they didn't like just add those to like Radanovis or something like that, you know. But yeah, I guess there were, maybe the idea came on a bit of a late notice, and they were like, well, we don't have time to put it in game, so let's just throw it up on the site or something like that.
Guess we'll see what happens. So anything else to say about season 3, episode 1?
Just that I'm also curious to see what role Anise plays in the whole White Mantle Divinity's Reach thing. There's always the theory that she's Livia, which is a popular one, and this would be a great season to unveil that, if that's the case. So
well,
I'm excited. I've definitely got my eye on Anise.
I think Livia's definitely prime with White Mantle to kind of make an appearance of some sort. Because
Livia is like very vehemently anti-White Mantle and very like pro. She's like the biggest patriot ever to the country of Prida. So I definitely think if that is what's happening with Livia or with Anise, if it's not unveiled this season, we'll get more hints, and the hints will be heavier. Well,
yeah, I mean, they've got to tie up what she's done after Sea of Sorrows at some point, surely.
Exactly.
So, you know,
we'll
see.
I'm excited to see what happens with Anise.
Indeed. So yeah, that episode 1 comes out on Tuesday, and then on Thursday we will be talking about it. So before we head off, coming in addition is the Revenge of the Capricorn PvP map, which is basically, it's got the same name, but it's totally changed.
I think they probably should have renamed it, since it's since the map is basically the old model of Lion's Arch now. They probably should have just renamed it Lion's Arch, but you know, whatever. One thing I was really excited to see about this map, well, two things. Obviously, I'm excited to see that old Lion's Arch is back permanently in the game in some capacity. That's always nice to have that commemorated in some way. But what I really thought was cool was the moving boats in the map, because, and it's a little thing, but we don't see a lot. I think it's something we've seen like a few times, but in the open world, we really don't see a lot of moving boats. Like, most of the time they're stationary, and they're still, like, the only exception I can think of is like the airships in the final mission, and that's like it. So, and we see a moving boat in like a cutscene in Guild Wars 1. So I know it's a silly thing to get excited about, but I'm like, oh, the boat's moving and it's firing cannons while it's moving.
No, yeah, it does look really cool. And like, neither of us, well, I'm certainly not a massive PvPer, but
I don't PvP either.
No, I will definitely go and try it out just to.
Yeah, I think I'd like to try it out too, even though I don't PvP. I'd be like, I will play a match there. That sounds good.
Exactly. So is that anything else we wanted to bring up? It's been kind of a short show, surprisingly.
You know, Sandra would have added quite a bit more, but unfortunately she had an emergency. But no, I think I covered. I was as succinct as I possibly could be, guys. Like, I'm so pumped for season 3. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I tried to be a little more concise for the hour time window on the show.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. So if you want more season 3 speculation, we do have a series of blog posts by our resident lore guru Draxinic up on guildmag.com right now. Part 1 and 2 are active right now. I think part 3 is coming out tomorrow or Monday. I'm not quite sure, but he kind of covers in much more depth than we have everything to do with the White Mantle, with Glint, with, I don't know what the third part is going to be, but it's going to be good. So lots of lore-y, juicy goodness. So check it out on guildmag.com. So we're also streaming. Is it you or Sandra that's streaming on Tuesday?
Sandra and I are both streaming Tuesday night.
So Aaron and Sandra, you are streaming episode 1 live at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern. no idea what time that is GMT.
And we're going in blind.
Yeah.
So we won't have played the content already.
Exactly. And then Wednesday is... I'm looking at you.
Bro, I thought you were like going to be is and
No,
then go
no,
for it. No, okay. Wednesday is going to be, usually I do a stream called Traversing Tyria on Wednesdays where I do map completion, but actually this Wednesday we'll be taking a group of people into fractals and showing off some fractals in preparation for the new fractal that's going to be coming out.
Ooh.
So we're going to do a bit of fractal hyping on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. That'll be me and Sandra, and then a few of my friends that I've roped into this. So that's going to be a good time.
Excellent. And then on Thursday is the next episode of this podcast. So just a reminder, that's 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern?
Yeah, 4 p.m. Eastern.
And 8 p.m. GMT, 9 p.m. UK time. And then after that, Sandra's got her level up stream at 7 p.m. Pacific and 10 p.m. Eastern. There's a lot of streams next week.
Yeah, we have a legit streaming schedule now. It's pretty.
We do.
Sweet.
So make sure you guys catch that. As always, we are at GuildMag Recruiting, so we're in need of writers and editors and graphic designery people. So if you have any of those skills, or even if you're not sure and you just want to give it a go, you can apply. We accept everyone. Well, we don't accept it. We look at everyone's applications. Everyone is welcome to apply.
Also, I think we could probably, if you can stream like during the day, during the week, that's definitely something we could use too.
Indeed. So whatever kind of your interest is in Guild Wars 2, we have a place for you. So if you go to guildmag.com/join, all the details are there. You can also send an email to valiant@guildmag.com if you maybe want to apply for a role that's not listed there, or have any questions or anything like that. And as a note, if you were previously subscribed to this podcast on iTunes, you'll have noticed that a couple of months ago it disappeared. It will be back from this episode onwards, so do not fret. There'll be a link in the show notes. It won't be on the same place you were subscribed to. It'll be on a new place. So after this episode, if you search GuildMag in iTunes, the new podcast will come up, because we had some issues with it, so we kind of axed the old one. And that's about it for this episode. So we'll be back on Thursday. Until then, check out twitch.tv/GuildMag for our streams that are coming up in this next week. And I guess thanks for joining us. And it's good to be back. It feels good.
Watch our Twitch streams, guys.
Yeah. And we'll see you not quite in a week, in 4 days.
Yep.
4 days time. So,
4-ish, 5-ish days, depending on how you want to measure time.
All right. So we'll see you then. So bye, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Until Thursday, guys.